Alright, so we're back for video 3, picking up at the end of activity 1. We're going to move into activity 2. So we're looking at surface anatomy. What are the parts of the body on the outside? We often use these as landmarks to help kind of identify where things are on the body, what we're looking at the body. So if you're doing this on your own body, that's great. If you're using a partner, remember to be respectful. The next two slides that we're respectful in terms of what you're touching on the body or looking at the body there. Right. The next two slides show anterior and posterior landmarks and terms. So here we're looking at the front, so you can see anatomical position here. Looking at the front, we start off with a cephalic region that refers to head. You've got frontal, which is forehead, orbital, which is eyes, nasal, which is nose, buccal, which is mouth, or pardon me, cheeks, oral, which is mouth, and then mental, which is the chin, actually. Down below that, we have the cervical, which refers to the neck. And then continuing on, we've got thoracic, which refers to sternal, axillary, which is the armpits, and pectoral. All of those are the thoracic region of the body. Below that, we have abdominal, which is kind of our belly here. You can see kind of the umbilical region. And then the inguinal region, which is kind of the part kind of above you can feel your hip bones kind of across your hip bones, below your belly button, across through there. Right. The inguinal region also includes the groin down below, going into the pubic or genital region even further down than that. Coming down the arms, we have the upper limb. Right. We've got the acromial region, which is kind of the upper part of your shoulder before it kind of turns and heads down. The big meaty part of your arm is called the deltoid at the upper part of your shoulder there. We've got the brachial, which is the upper arm. The antecubital region is the part, like if you were to bend your elbow, the part that the angle gets smaller, that's the antecubital as your hand lifts up. The antebrachial region, which is the forearm. Then we've got the carpal region, which is the wrist area. That's going to wear, like if you wear a watch, that's where it would go. Then we've got the hand, or the manus, which includes all of the digits. And then we've got the lower leg. The coccygeal region refers to the hips. The femoral region refers to the thighs. The patellar region refers to the kneecaps. Right? Lower limb refers to the crural region. This is actually called the leg here medically. The crural region is kind of the front part of your leg. Fibular is the outer edge. And then we've got the foot, the pedal region, right? And that includes the tarsal region, the ankle. The tarsal is kind of the equivalent to the carpal, the wrist, and the ankle there, carpal and tarsal. And then we've got our foot with its digits on there. So that's the anterior view, the front. And then if we flip it over on the back side, so dorsal is back. So if you're working with a partner, make sure that you kind of point these out with permission. Don't go touching anybody without them giving you the okay. Right. So just like the arm in the front, we have the acromial region, the brachial region, the olecranial region, which is the back side of the elbow, and then the antebrachial region is the same front and back, and we have the manus in the hand. That's the same front and back there. Continuing down the leg, again we have the femoral region, or the thigh. The popliteal region refers to the back side of your knees. So if your knees bend, then that comes up, so that's the popliteal region. The sural region refers to the lower part of your leg. This is where your calf muscle is located. The fibular is again kind of the outer edge of that. And then on the foot, your heel is known as the calcaneal region. And then the bottom side of your foot is the plantar region. Some of you may have heard of something called the plantar wart. They're mostly often found in this part of the body, but not only there. They can be found in other places. Going down on the other side of our image, we have the cephalic region, which was the head. The very back of the head is known as the occipital region. So if you feel kind of where your neck connects to your head back there. We have the cervical region, which is again the neck. Then we have the big kind of broad part of our body, which is the back of the dorsum, right? Dorsal here. You have the scapular region, which is where your shoulder blades are found. The vertebral region, which is where your vertebra is. Your spine goes up and down this. To either side of the vertebral region across the back near the center, we have the lumbar region. Down below that, we have the sacral region. This is where kind of the mass of the glutes comes together, and you've got maybe a little kind of divot area there. That's the sacral region. And then the gluteal groups, which is the your buttocks there. Right? So that's the back side. That's the regional terms, the anterior or posterior. Continuing on with directions. So explain location of one body structure in relation to another, right? They notice that certain terms, or you should notice that certain terms have a meaning. For four-legged animals, it's different from the meaning in a human because we're two-legged and we're standing upright. So we'll follow along and use these to complete activity number 3 as we're continuing into this part here. So I'm going to pause here before we move into, actually, no, we'll continue on here. So the next thing we want to look at is the terms and images. So use these images as you go through and identify them on your own body. So we have something called superior, which is towards the head, inferior, which is away from the head towards the lower part of the body. And then we have anterior, towards the front of the body, or towards the face in humans, and posterior, towards the back side of the body here. So here's kind of some views looking at these. So superior is going up, inferior is going down, anterior is going towards the front of the body, posterior again is going towards the back of the body. So we want to identify kind of two parts of the body and identify, are they superior, inferior, anterior, posterior. So you can see the examples they provide over here on the right. Continuing on looking at these things, we're going to look at some other definitions. So medial, lateral, and intermediate. So this all refers to relative to the midline of the body. So if we're moving towards the midline of the body, this is medial, on the inner side of the body. Lateral is away from the midline of the body, on the outer side of something. And then intermediate is in between here. So here you can see that, the heart is medial to the arm, right? Is closer to the midline of the body than it is. The arms are lateral to the chest. They're kind of off to either side. And then the collarbone is intermediate between the breastbone and the shoulder. So you can kind of see where they're relative to on there. Right? Medial, lateral, and intermediate. And then we've got these other two terms, proximal and distal. They refer to moving along a limb because your limbs may not be medial or lateral. You can be moving up and down. So they're relative to the attachment to the body trunk here. So proximal is something that's closer to the body trunk. So if you move from the hand to the shoulder, that's moving in a proximal direction. Distal is moving the other direction. So if you move from the hip down to the toe, that's moving in the distal direction. So the knee is distal to the thigh. All right. Then we have last ones. So these are something if you're looking within the volume of the body. So you don't necessarily need to point these out because you're not really going to get to them here. So superficial is external towards the surface of the body. Deep is internal, away from the surface of the body, more internal. So here you can see, the skin is superficial to the skeleton. The lungs are deep relative to the rib cage there. Right. So completing activity 3, use the correct terminology. If you want to use the human torso model, it's on the side counter. You can do that. Please do not disassemble it. Just kind of leave it. You can also use the skeleton. Both of the skeletons by the window are available for you to look at. Right, I'm going to stop here on activity 3, and then you can start into video 4 for activity 4. So stopping here.